What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and today we continue to talk about what we are seeing and hearing from the green and white as we get ready for training camp, which will get going in a couple of weeks. And a lot of times I've been talking about kind of the draft picks, guys like Mason Taylor, guys like Arian Smith, and we haven't talked as much about the number one pick from our draft haul, Armanu Membou. We've been talking about this new offensive line that I think is going to be young and good, but we haven't recently talked about Armanu Membou, who, as you remember, was who I thought we were going to select number 7 overall because I wanted that bookend anchor for years to come, especially with Justin Fields and the opportunity in this run game. And I guess part of the reason we haven't talked about him in a while here on Jets Latest is because he's just been as advertised. Everyone is very impressed with what Membou is doing. Everyone thinks he was a good pick. Everyone thinks he will, in fact, develop into one of these kind of top tackles for years to come for the green and white. Listen to some of the coaches and what they have had to say about Membou so far in things like OTAs and minicamp. First of all, Tanner Engstrand, the offensive coordinator, goes, he loves football. He loves football, and that's what you want. We want a team that's a bunch of guys that love football. That's been glaring for me for this player. These are one of the character traits you keep hearing about from Aaron Glenn, Darren Moji all the time. Aaron Glenn talking about Membou's going, Membou's doing outstanding. He's working his butt off. He's learning every day, too. I think it's just adjusting from, being at Missouri to being here in the NFL and playing like a top-notch rusher every week in, week out. And he has been doing that. And remember, when we talked about this going into the draft, Armanu Membou, like his PFF grade, top of the charts, right? He only allowed 3 sacks in 3 years at Missouri. He did not allow any sacks in his last year at Missouri. He was an athletic freak at the combine, scoring in the top 3 among offensive linemen and so many of those kind of drills they put you through. And also, quite frankly, starting to draw comparisons to a guy like Jason Peters, who was an all-pro, who's likely a Hall of Fame offensive lineman. So just because we haven't talked about Membou much on Jets Latest since the draft doesn't mean he's not doing his thing and performing as expected. But just latest, I want to talk about how it's not just coaches being impressed with the players. It is players being impressed with the coaches as well. And I heard from one of the, cornerstones of this Jets team, of the Jets defense, that being Sauce Gardner. We talked about him a little bit yesterday, how the contract extension looks good, how he was impressed with Justin Fields. He's also impressed with his new coaching staff, specifically DC Steve Wilks, and of course, new head coach Aaron Glenn. Listen to what he had to say about having those two as his kind of coaching staff and brain trust. Sauce goes, I'm impressed with him. I've always heard a lot of great things about him when he was in Detroit. So this is who I wanted to be the next head coach of the Jets. I love defensive-minded head coaches. But the thing that sets him apart, he knows so much about offense and special teams. And him just as a person, he wants to get the best out of you. When I asked him and Coach Wilks what they want out of me, they want me to have this standard that I already have, but to keep it week in, week out. For him to come in here and push me, and for me to have this new standard that I haven't even reached, for me, it's a blessing. We talk about the developmental culture, the standard, right? How you want players that want to be coached, whether it is a rookie or whether it is a 2-time All-Pro like Sauce Gardner. That's why it's important that he was attendant in those mini camps. That's why it's important that he even takes on saying, I want to be better. I want to be more of a leader. I want to raise the standard, be more consistent. We've talked about on Jets Latest before, but remember, Sauce's 91.9 PFF grade, top of the NFL, right? The 46 league incompletions over the last couple of years, tops in the NFL. The 0.6 yards per play in coverage snap, top in the NFL. So when you have literally a guy who is the best at his position in the NFL talking like that and buying in, you have to feel really good about what that means for the culture, right? So the last thing I want to talk about here on Jets Latest, and I got to give the caveat, I hate doing this, but I see everybody doing it. We're going to try and give. I know people are asking me in the comments, and I appreciate the comments, but people are asking me, how many games are we going to win this year? What's going to be our record, right? So I looked at the schedule, and I had to kind of, give you kind of the good old win-loss kind of game. Let me tell you first the way I did it, right? First of all, you got 6 division games, right? I'm going to say I think the Jets, and this may be conservative to be honest, but I think the Jets can go 500 in those games. So for just simplicity's sake, I'm going to say they go 3-3 in the division, right? Win their home games, lose their road games. Remember, some of the road games are tough spots. Monday night football at Miami, Thursday night football on a short turnaround with New England. So let's just say they go 3-3, middle of the division, against the AFC East, right? Then what I did is I looked at the games and I tried to find the games that I think they could win, that I think are against teams that they can handle, then games that I thought could be kind of a quote-unquote toss-up, and then games that I acknowledge are going to be definitely tough to win, right? So if I have the 3 wins in the division, I think there are 5 games against very winnable teams. Carolina week 7, Cleveland, the 2 road games at Jacksonville, at New Orleans, and then at Atlanta. Those are 5 games I think they can, could, should, however you want to call it, win. I'm going to give them 4 of those 5 wins. With the 3 wins in the division, that's already 7. Then I came up with 3 games that I think are kind of toss-ups, right? The Steelers week 1, toss-up. A Cowboys game early in the season, the home game week 5, and across the pond against the Broncos in week 6. 3 games I think can really be a toss-up, right? But I'm going to be optimistic. I'm going to give them 2 of those games. Added to the 7 before, that makes 9. Then I think the 3 toughest games on the schedule, again, not counting the 6 division games, where obviously at Buffalo is going to be tough and things of that nature. At Tampa, week 3, tough matchup against a 2-time playoff team. At Cincy, week 8, I expect a bounce-back season from Cincinnati Bengals. Going to be tough to go in there. Maybe they can stifle Joe Burrow. We shall see. And then what I think is the toughest game on the schedule, at Baltimore, week 12. They do have a week and a half to prepare because they're coming off Thursday night football, but I personally think the Baltimore Ravens are one of the, if not the, best team in football. So, I'm going to give them losses there, but 3 in the division, plus 4 against those winnable teams. That makes 7. 2 of the toss-up games, that gives me a 9-win season for the Jets. And listen, could they go 2-4 or 4-2 in the division? Yeah, I mean, they play Buffalo well, if you want to know the truth, right? Can they get all of those games against winnable teams? Yeah. Could they pick off maybe a Cincy at home? Maybe, but if you're going to ask me for my official prediction, it'll be 9 wins, 8 losses. And the thing is, remember, I'm doing this in July. Okay? You never see, there's going to be an injury somewhere in the NFL that's going to change this, whether, God forbid, it's for on our side or something like we're playing against one of these toss-up teams, say Dallas, and all of a sudden they have an injury that we don't know about, or Denver and they have an injury we don't know about. The other thing is, this doesn't look too deeply into things like rest disparity, which I really think is important. Also, things like what kind of form some of these teams are in, right? Maybe we're starting to get hot when we see Baltimore in week 12. Maybe, who knows, maybe Jacksonville is starting to get hot when we see them in Florida in week 15, right? But to answer the question, because I know they have been coming, I'm going to say the Jets go 9-8 this season, which, if you want to know the truth, keeps them probably in the playoff mix for a while. And with the late part of the schedule kind of becoming a little bit easier, we shall see. Maybe that week 18 against Buffalo actually means something, and then Buffalo has a bye or something locked up, and we're, really going for it. So, with a few months left until the season, put me down for right now 9 wins. What that does mean is go over the 5.5 win total. I think that one is completely disrespectful. And again, I want to bring in some of your comments here on some of the stuff we've talked about. Thank you to all your subscribers here at Jets Latest. I say tell a friend to tell a friend. People have really been doing great. I'm really excited and happy about the growth of this channel for the 2025 season. But we got Evelyn Lopez out there, and she says 10 games is what they're going to win, saying the ones we are used to be giving away are over. We've talked about how penalties, turnovers are definitely things that I think under Aaron Glenn will be reined in to that point. I'm going to say 9, but Evelyn, keep going for 10. We'll see if that happens. Sharon McLean, thank you for a lot of comments, says, I think our rookie safety and cornerback are a step outside the door as starters. We talked about Membou, but listen, I've been impressed, and the reports have been good about Malachi Moore, who Sharon's talking about A.Z. Thomas, who I think may be opposite Sauce Gardner, not before too long in that secondary. And then Marto Batista says, I like the info and straightforward explanation. Keep it up, man. I'll be here. Let's go Jets, Jets. I thank you for those comments. A lot of people say the same thing. They like the content. They like what I'm giving you. So watch these videos, like these videos, subscribe to the channel, tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend. And if you want to hear more from me, the spitting statistician Dane Martinez, remember, I am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show over on SiriusXM, channel 87, as we get you ready for not only the NFL season, but for fantasy football season as well. And I am the host of In-Game Live on SportsGrid TV. If you're into sports betting, listen, live betting is where it's at, and you can tune in a couple of nights a week where I take you around everything that's happening and find the opportunities for you to get a little bit of cash, as it were. You can follow me on Twitter at Spittin' Speeds or X, whatever you want to call it. And remember, engage with me. I'll start to get some of these comments in on the show as we here on Jets Latest are looking towards training camp on what is going to be a great, fun, hopefully arrow pointing up season for the 2025 Jets. We'll be back tomorrow, but for now, we out of here. Peace.